in a certain mode of being before we set out to do anything, because everything that we do is infused with the consciousness with which we do it. However, that does not mean that we are not to do anything. We are in this world, we are on this planet, the Course in Miracles says, to be a light unto the darkness. So we don't avoid the darkness in A Course in Miracles philosophy. There is a difference between denial and transcendence. So denial is where you use perhaps some kind of half-baked ersatz spiritual understanding to say, because it is not of the light, it does not exist. Therefore, I'm to have nothing to do with it. But once again, that is a denial, but it is not a transcendence. The Course in Miracles talks about positive denial. If I'm just not looking at it, that is negative denial. So to say, I'm not looking at starving children, I'm not looking at the mass incarceration rate, I'm not looking at GMOs and the corruption of our food supply, I'm not looking at income inequality, I'm not looking at all the terrible things in the world because I'm too spiritual. The Course in Miracles would make it clear, as would any serious spiritual path, there's no serious spiritual journey, no serious spiritual philosophy that would ever give us a pass on addressing the suffering of other sentient beings. And if we see our spiritual path and our path of love, because what is a spiritual path except a path of love? And if my path of love is supposed to be ultimately only about me, then that means that I'm passively or impassively withholding my love from others. And then that serves my ego perfectly, because it becomes this kind of excuse for my narcissism. It is trying to use spirituality as a cover for my own laziness or my own unwillingness to get involved for whatever reason. Positive denial is where you do look at what's happening in the world, but you deny its power over you given who you are. Last week, for those of you who were there, we talked about the exercise in the Course in Miracles, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. And I don't know about you, but the next morning I needed that. I think it was the first time in all these years I thought, what did I hear that woman say last night? There's nothing that... There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Now, what does that mean? That means because thought is the level of cause, and everything that happens in the world is the level of effect. So if to be in my holiness is my wholeness, this is what we talked about last week. So anything that in the realm of effect is not unfolding in harmony, in grace, in happiness, in joy, in an ultimate win for everyone, means that somewhere or the other, the cause got shifted from cause with a big C, which is when our minds are aligned with God, so we are co-creating with God. The cause is all love, therefore the effect would be all love. By definition, if my effect is not all love, somehow that big C got turned to a little c within me. It might have been caused by someone outside me, but even if it was, the Course in Miracles says we were not created to be at the effect of lovelessness in anyone, including ourselves. So if somebody else did it and caused the problem, as long as I forgive them for it, then my big C, which is my forgiving mind, trumps their little c. Are you with me? And in my own mind, if I will see, oh, how did I do this? How did I do this? Where was my withhold of love? Where was my lack of excellence? Where was my harsh nature? Where was I, whatever, out of my own holiness or love center? I atone for my error, go back to big C, co-creation with God. That's the cosmic reset button, and automatically the effects will change. That's why we can say, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Now, what does it mean to say we place a situation in the hands of God? We say here often, that which is placed on the altar is then altered. What does that mean? Well, the altar is inside the mind. The altar to God is inside the mind. When you think of placing something on the altar, I place it on the altar. That means I surrender it. I surrender. Now, this is a difference between the word sacrifice and renounce. Sacrifice, the Course in Miracles says, God does not ask for sacrifice. We do not put a sacrifice on the altar. To renounce is to say, I am willing to forego the lower in order to have the higher. I am willing to take my thoughts about this situation, which obviously are not working. That's usually obvious at whatever point